How you doing? I'm OTM Speaks. If you are new here, please like, subscribe, share. When I'm done, comment. I really do like comments. I start every live off saying the same thing. I lean to the right. And the reason I say that is so everyone knows where my perspective is coming from, and they don't feel deceived when a story does not go the way I present it. For instance, both debates. First debate, they said Biden was sharp, super sharp, really smart guy. He's really running the country, I promise you. Second debate, you see absolute deception, especially from CNN. They want you to think that they're neutral. It's not about opinions. It really isn't. And then they lie and say Trump told 33 lies and Kamala told one. Absolutely absurd. 100% false. How you doing, Taryn the Black? How you doing, Amber C? What's going on? What's going on? I did a live 2 days ago. I put a lot of work into these lives. These last two lives especially. But just to debunk all the crap that happened in the debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, it took me, I think my last live was like an hour and 45 minutes just to get through the first half of the debate. The debate was an hour and 45 minutes, around there, give or take a few minutes. Today, I'm going to try to do the second half, but this may be a three-parter. That's how much lies were told. That's how many lies were told. It took me all day yesterday. And when I say all day, I'm talking about essentially what a full work day would consist of, like 8 hours to put all this information together so that we can go through it chronologically in the debate format. So as soon as somebody said something that I was like, that's not true, I went, got a clip, got evidence, got whether it's a whole new tab online or a full video, and then I clipped that up, and then I inserted it in that section. So I really worked on this one. Like I said, all day. I was trying to go live last night because it started to appear as if it's going to take 3 full lives because I can't just sit here and do 3-4 hours on this topic. I don't mind doing it, but doing it straight. I did 3 hours the other day during the debate, and I'm like, man, that was a long time. But when I get up, man, nah, I can't do that. So what's going on, Free J? How you doing? This is part 2. I'm going to pick up right where I left off, right before where I left off. And there's a reason for that, because it's going to bleed into this video that I edited. So without further ado, because this is going to be a lot of information and a lot of debunking, show this to a friend. Show my first one to a friend, because that one consisted of what's going on, Uncle L? The first one you have to share with somebody who is a liberal. And actually, it doesn't matter who they are. Share it with anybody, but especially liberals, because it debunked all of the abortion stuff, and it really got down to the nitty-gritty with that. And that's a very important topic because they're all saying, oh, no, there's no late-term abortion. No, I think the moderator said no state would allow what Trump had brought up. And I proved 100% unequivocally that it was false. What she said was false. What Trump said was 100% true. And I went into detail. And I also went into the eating of animals. I proved that what Trump said was true. I still see people laughing online about it. I had somebody laugh at me this morning. Did you fact check the fake animal eating story? I actually did. And the proof is on Trump's side, not the other side. But anyway, today we're going to pick up, like I said, a little bit before I left off yesterday. So I'm continuing. So it's kind of in the middle of the debate. So if you missed the first part, you got to go to, you got to watch that one. It was an extremely important live, especially, like I said, the abortion stuff, the eating animals. And then you can see how the media has been deceiving you, because that was part of their fact checks, and they just outright lied. They don't care. All right, so let's go.
2019, in what K-File found, she said she would cut funding to ICE, writing, quote, "Our immigrant detention system is out of control, and I believe we must end the unfair incarceration of thousands of individuals, families, and children. I was one of the first senators after President Trump was elected to advocate for a decrease in funding to ICE." Well, now, of course, she's touting the Biden administration's executive order to crack down on the border. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski.
And she keeps making the point that she's the only person who prosecuted transnational blah, 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 blah. She was against it before she's for it.
Joins me now. Andrew, that's pretty incredible on its own when you're talking about what you found here on ICE. What else did you find?
This is just a sample of the first one because, like I said, we're bleeding over. What's going on, Bolo? This one's really good, Bolo. It took me 8 hours to put together this presentation. I did real work on this one. So if you guys feel it within your heart to provide a fresh wound, I have absolutely no issue with it because I really worked on this one. This one is outrageous. And like I said, this is just a taste of what happened last time. But if you read that second, right around here, that second one, her campaign position was to fund, with your money, tax, gender care, transition, and surgeries for detained migrants. Sex changes for criminals, illegal criminals. Anyway, all right, here we go.
She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she supported
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She actually said she supported that.
She both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this. Oh. And she said she also supported it for federal prisoners. Now, she also pledged to slash immigration detention by 50%, close all family and private facilities, and decrease funding for ICE, and then the end ICE detainers with local law enforcement.
I mean, these are things that, you know, it would be hard to think that you would come up with taxpayer funding gender transitions for detained migrants, and yet this, as you say, written and verbally.
This is a radical left liberal that would do this.
That's where I left off my last live. So now here is where all the rest of my work came in.
The United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job.
Now, the reason I play that beginning part was so I can show you guys what she's saying verbally is what she supported in helping these people and getting them more, they're working overtime. We want to get them more funding. But she pledged to end the detention centers and decrease funding for ICE. It's the second to last one, right around here, right around here. So what she's saying and what she was promoting are completely different things. You really want to get these, they're working overtime. Okay, so that's why I put that on the bottom here. Let's listen one more time.
For detained migrants, and yet this, as you say, written and verbally.
This is a radical left liberal that would do this.
The United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported.
She supported it.
And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings.
But she was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David.
Where are you from?
India.
Where are you going? Thank you. You?
India.
Where are you going?
Oregon.
Thank you. You?
India.
Where are you going?
New York.
Thank you.
So this video,
Where you
and
going?
he's just
Thank
asking
you.
people where they're
Where
going.
you going?
These are all illegals crossing the border,
Thank
by the way.
you.
What's going on, Toby?
California.
These are all
Thank you.
illegals
Thank you.
crossing the border.
Where you
So
going?
turn it down so
Where you going?
it's not too loud. And it's so long,
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to talk over it a little
Where you
bit.
going?
And I had to cut this in half.
Where are you going?
And the
Where you
reason I
going?
had to cut it in half
Where you
is
going?
because it's not going
Michigan.
to stop.
Where are you from?
He's going to keep
None of yours.
asking people, where are you from?
Where you
you
going?
from? This is about
Where
50
you
or
going?
60 people
Where are you from?
walking across our
Yeah, where
border
you going, sir?
from all over
Thank
the
you, sir.
world.
You?
This is what Trump just
Where are
said.
you going? Where are you
But you
going?
see her.
What state are you
So
going?
the point I made yesterday
And you?
is if Kamala Harris,
Are you going to
the
New
more
York?
she's shaking her head and making something sound ridiculous, the more likely it's true.
Louisville, you? New York,
He's still
you?
going, by the way.
You?
So
New York, you?
he said these people are coming from all over the world. They're sending criminals. They're sending all the things that he said that they used to call xenophobic.
You?
They used to call him
You?
racist for saying
Where
these
you going?
things.
Where you going?
But we're watching this guy,
New York?
Anthony
Where you
Aguero,
going?
ask
Where you
all
going?
these illegals, hey, where you going?
Where
Where
you
you
going?
going? Where you going? And they're telling him all over the
Where
country.
you going?
They're naming all
Coming
parts of
from?
the country.
Where you going?
New York.
Where you
New
coming
York.
from? Where you going?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Where you coming from?
Americano.
Where you going?
Yeah, man.
Where you going?
All over the world. And crime
over the
rates are
world.
down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
one
ask
of those, David, one of those people are going to be prosecuted.
You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on.
So you see how the moderator phrased the question. You said something, but it was 2 hours after. No, during the speech. This is now, I mean, it's even BBC covered it. Even they said, oh yeah, he really did say to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. They ignored that. They completely ignored it. The moderator just ignored it. Why would he do that? That's weird. Unless he wants people at home to think what he was saying is true. So Trump corrects him, and that, I guess, it's his word against the two moderators, Mr. Muir and Miss AKA, and Kamala Harris. That's what he was up against. So when you hear she won, she didn't win. They're just saying she won. The facts determine whether somebody wins. The presentation is fine. That's what sways people. But if you're lying the whole time, but you look good, that doesn't mean you won the debate.
Peacefully and patriotically. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me.
Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? I take responsibility for not having them. Just prepare for more.
The video, shot by Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, for an HBO documentary. Pelosi telling MSNBC the video is Republicans' attempt to rewrite history.
Speaker of the House is responsible for security of the Capitol. That's it. But a president cannot tell a state, or in this case, DC, use the National Guard. He has to ask, or actually he just has to offer it. They have to say yes. The state of Illinois can refuse help, if you want to call it that. The state of Texas can say, no, we don't need your help. If the federal government wants to do something, they can't just march in. That's why we have 50 different. We're all separate for a reason. You have your own state. So when he offered them the 10,000 or 15,000 National Guard, they have to say yes. They said no. Nancy Pelosi, right here, just admitted it's her fault. What's going on, TP? She admitted it's her fault. So why is, since January 6th, they have been lying about this. Now they have video. Unfortunately for Nancy Pelosi, her daughter made a documentary on that day. And she caught her own mother on camera saying, this was my fault. I was responsible for it, because she knows. But publicly, she kept blaming Trump.
Later on, peacefully and patriotically. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me.
Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? I take responsibility for not having them. Just prepare for more.
The video,
That's on her. She admitted it. That's what he's talking about.
shot by Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, for an HBO documentary. Pelosi telling MSNBC the video is Republicans' attempt to rewrite history.
It's her daughter. She's blaming Republicans. Her daughter shot her saying it, and she's saying they're trying to rewrite history. That's not what happened.
It was just 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape.
Well, the reason, see, I think time is going to remember January 6th differently. Right now, people are still the heat.
Just so you know, this is her daughter speaking to some people. They got her on video. They got her on video.
There's two things. Media needs stuff to fill. I mean, if you watch TV on January 6th, it was like January 6th, 24/7. As time goes on, it's going to be less. Yeah. And so I think also people are going to lose their office, the jobs. The people that were there will lose their jobs. It's not going to mean anything if you weren't even there. You weren't even there.
We need like a water breakout.
Yeah, no, it's right. No.
She's saying they're hammering the point home now, and then over time it's going to fade away. Is what she's saying. People aren't going to be there anymore. Everyone's going to forget about it. But the point that they're hammering in is going to remain. That's what she's saying. Listen, keep listening.
Okay, I thank you for your time.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, I really, I know you're not the bad guy. I mean, if there is, I haven't found the bad guy yet, but if there is, I know you're not the bad guy.
I mean, he's like a stereotypical bad guy.
But the thing is, why I asked you the question of like, so what was the plan? Is that if there was an insurrection, you were supposed to be in line. Marching. You're in the military, you know this.
No, that's
you were supposed to have a plan.
Exactly. It's called Operation Order. You sit down overnight with your soldiers. You go over. All right, you're gonna go here. You're gonna go in by this side. At this time, we're gonna take over this. There's none of that.
If there was an insurrection, it's the sorriest insurrection in the 20th, 21st century ever. No guns. No plan. People taking selfies.
A guy smoking pot.
I love the guy.
Yeah, I'm like.
Well, we did that. We just went to New Hampshire last week for the guy that just was drinking beer.
My favorite wine.
That was Nancy Pelosi's daughter saying it was not an insurrection. There was no plan. There was no military. There were no guns. This is the exact opposite you guys have been fed since January 6, 2021. Yeah, 2021. They've been lying the whole time. Phoenix Rising, Taryn the Black, what's going on? I already said what's up to Uncle L. I think I already said what's up to Taryn. Either way. G. Will, what's going on? Vibes in my lane. K's. Toby, Bolo, what's going on, everybody? Trupac, what's going on? They lied since January 6th, saying Trump, insurrection. They impeached him. They tried to impeach him. Senate didn't go for it. They impeached him. They spent millions of dollars. I want to say tens of millions, but it may be more than that, on proving that Trump caused an insurrection while the Speaker of the House, daughter, just now told you it wasn't an insurrection. We had to keep saying that. So over time, that's the point that sticks in people's heads. And then everybody will be gone and we'll forget about it here. This is the definition of a psyop. Taryn the Black. This is brainwashing. She just explained it. This is the daughter of the Speaker of the House who brought the motion to impeach Donald Trump for an insurrection, while admitting she was in charge of security at the Capitol.
Would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs.
The Capitol Police chief, who stepped down after Pelosi called for his resignation, stood by his claims that superiors in Congress and the Pentagon rebuffed his requests for National Guard help both before and during the riot.
Quote, I don't like the optics of the National Guard standing in line with the Capitol in the background. I was perplexed. I felt like, am I really hearing what I think I'm hearing?
I wasn't.
Everything Trump is saying is true. He was the chief of the Capitol Police. He just now told you, quote, that they did not want, I'm not quoting, but that's what he said. They didn't want the optics of having a National Guard there. So then when all hell breaks loose, we'll just blame Trump if it does. He had to step down because Nancy Pelosi, the woman who called off his support, said, we don't want to do this. So she called for him to resign and then ran with this new narrative of Trump.
Responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there.
It was funny. I was watching Kwame Brown, and he brought this point up. They showed video I'm not going to show video, but I'm going to show Politico admitting this fact. It's incredible how many lies were told. So many lies that this is probably going to be a part. This is part 2. I'm probably going to have to do part 3. We'll see. So many lies. She immediately came with that story. I was there. I was there. It was so horrible and so scary. I was there. DOJ error highlights January 6th mystery. It wasn't a mystery. Kamala Harris was she there during the attack? The Justice Department is now moving to correct the record on her whereabouts. No fact checks from the moderators. Isn't that weird? You find that weird? I find it weird. When pro-Trump rioters, because this is still political, attacked the Capitol on January 6th, lawmakers and Vice President Pence fled for safety. Until recently, this is as of 2021, they've known this, and she's still telling this lie. This is November 4th, 2021. Can you see my cursor? Let me see. There you go. That's what this says. November 4th, 2021, they've known this, and she's still lying. I was there. It was horrible. They were attacking us. Until recently, the Justice Department contended that the Vice President-elect was among them. They kept saying, yes, she was there, she was there. Well, the Republicans were saying, she wasn't even there, I was there. But the DOJ is now moving to correct the record, acknowledging in court, this is why they had to come out. In court, they can't lie. They can try, but if you get caught, that's a problem. And they knew it was on video. So acknowledging in court that Kamala was, in fact, away from the Capitol during the riot and only returned later to cast the key votes that certified her own ascension to vice presidency. What did they say? The government incorrectly stated that the Vice President Harris was present in the U.S. Capitol at the time of the attack. Prosecutors wrote in a court filing, this is why they had to tell the truth, on Tuesday. In fact, Vice President-elect Harris was not present at that particular time, though she was present earlier in the day and after. She wasn't there. She's lying again. Because that's what she does. That's what they do.
On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
You see how much I have to stop? I don't want to stop. She just said police died. Never happened. It didn't happen. You know how I know it happened? They had to release the footage finally after, I think it was a dozen FOIA, Freedom of Information Act filings to get those tapes. I think it took like 2-3 years before them to get it took 2 years for them to get the proper information so that we could see video. So Jim Jordan got in office in the midterms and gave the video over to Tucker Carlson when he was at Fox News. Tucker Carlson found out the officer that they keep saying died was fine.
First, they told the country that Officer Sicknick was murdered with a fire extinguisher.
Officer Brian Sicknick died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher.
You remember this
during the
story?
fight.
I do.
That story came from the New York Times, which is effectively the assignment editor for most of the rest of American media. It was a lie, untrue in any way. But only after that lie had hardened into conventional wisdom did the newspaper bother to retract it.
The New York Times has quietly retracted its story about the death of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick.
Now, he did die, I want to make that clear, but it had nothing to do with the Capitol riots, and this is what is about to be proved here.
The damage had been done. Brian Sicknick, himself a Trump voter, had been transformed without his consent into a political martyr of the left.
Breaking down the doors, trying to overturn an outcome of election, and killing several police officers in the meantime.
But Brian Sicknick should not be reduced to a prop for the political ambitions of the Democratic Party. To this day, media accounts describe Sicknick as someone who was, quote, slain on January 6th. The video we reviewed proves that is a lie. Here is surveillance footage of Sicknick walking in the Capitol after he was supposedly murdered by the mob outside. By all appearances, Sicknick is healthy and vigorous. He's wearing a helmet. So
now remember, when they entered, supposedly, he was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher. But this is him on the inside, ushering people, making sure that they're not doing anything on the inside. So did he die at the steps or not? No, we're going to prove that he did. Matter of fact, he didn't even die on this day.
It's hard to imagine he was killed by a head injury. Whatever happened to Brian Sicknick was very obviously not the result of violence he suffered at the entrance to the Capitol. This tape overturns the single most powerful and politically useful lie the Democrats have told us about January 6th. And it was indeed a lie. The January 6th committee knew perfectly well that Brian Sicknick was walking normally through the Capitol after he was supposedly murdered by Trump supporters. And they know that because they saw this tape. We can be sure because the footage contains an electronic bookmark that is still archived in the Capitol's computer system. That means...
So, when the government reviews these things, they have to document what they're doing. Everything that the government does, they're supposed to document because it's public record. I should be able to make a phone call to a lawyer and have them put in a Freedom of Information Act request, and they should be able to tell me anything as long as it's not classified. What did the J6 committee do? They classified everything for 2 years. Jim Jordan got in, declassified those things because they said they were using, it was in the middle of a proceeding. And he gave it to Tucker. And now we know they saw Sicknick was alive after when they kept saying he was dead. And it had to be bookmarked because it has to be documented.
Means that investigators working for the Democratic Party reviewed this tape. They saw it. But they refused to release the tape to the public. Why? Because this tape would shatter the fraud they were perpetrating on the country. Because hiding the truth served their political interest. They lied about the police officer they claimed to revere. If they were willing to do that, then their dishonesty knew no limits.
And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason.
Let me go back to that. I flashed that too quick. 4 officers who responded to the Capitol attack have died by suicide. Not when it happened, afterward. They went up to a month or 2 after the J6 attack and attributed suicides to the attack so they can say that they died in the line of duty. This is Reuters. They outright lied to everyone about this January 6th thing. We saw what happened. That is what happened. But the narrative that they spun and making it about Trump is an absolute lie. The lack of security, making it about Trump, absolute lie. This was staged. Now, I don't know if it was intentionally staged. I think Nancy Pelosi really didn't want the optics. But I also think that what they do is they don't let a tragedy go to waste. That's their slogan. They used it, and they impeached her. They attempted to impeach him. They impeached him in the House. Senate wouldn't go with it. 4 officers who responded to the U.S. Capitol attack have died by suicide. They did not die there. They did not. They can't even say that they died as a result of it. You know how I know? Because they won't say it. They refuse to say it. But in all the White House documents since Joe Biden has been in office, they attributed this to Donald Trump. We have a stream sponsor. Embassy, you're amazing, as always. Embassy is now the stream sponsor. Thank you so much. Yeah. Anybody providing the fresh meat or donating, it is very humbling. I appreciate you so much. Very, 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 very much. Switch that over. Thank you. So, what's the next little slide here? Let me go back. Oh, crap, I went too far. Let me play it. Sorry.
Then their dishonesty knew no limits.
And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached.
Officer they claimed perpetrating on the country because hiding the truth served their political interest. They lied about the police officer they claimed to revere.
Right here.
If they were willing to do that, then their dishonesty knew no limits.
And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason.
That's what it is. Okay. So that's an absolute lie. So not only that, the medical examiner, the chief medical examiner of DC, let's blow this up so I can read it. This is the United States Capitol Police press release. Medical examiner finds that the Capitol Police officer Brian Sicknick died of natural causes. To this day, they still attribute it to Donald Trump. The United States, the Capitol Police accepts the findings from the District of Columbia's Office of Chief Medical Examiner that Officer Brian Sicknick died of natural causes. But they threw in a caveat. This does not change the fact that he died in the line of duty, courageously defending Congress and the Capitol. How can you say those two things? He died of natural causes and he was killed defending you and democracy. Now, you could say he died in the line of duty, I guess. I don't know how you would make that stretch. I think that's for insurance pension purposes for his family, but he did not die on January 6th. He just didn't. They tried to block this request. So they sent it to the chief medical examiner, and they were going to release it. They said, no, don't release it. We want to essentially fact check this. As if that guy doesn't have credibility. They're the ones who made him the chief. And then it finally, in April, January, February, March, April, it took them 3 months to say, all right, yeah, he didn't die from a fire extinguisher. He didn't die from being beaten to death on January 6th. Didn't happen. Absolute lies. Do you know this? What's going on, Cortez? Have you heard this? You should know this by now. I mean, it's only been 3 years. They lied about all of it. All of it. So, let's continue.
But this is not an isolated situation.
It's not.
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
This is another lie. We're not even 10 minutes into the information. All she did was lie. That's it. So what did Trump actually say?
They showed up in Charlottesville to protest. And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
So he just condemned the people that they're talking about. Nazis, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, whatever they're called. He just condemned them while saying this.
But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats.
So there he's talking about Antifa.
You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
Treated unfairly, sir. I'm sorry, I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly?
No. You hear the question that this is what they do. So are you saying that there was we're treating white nationalists unfairly? No, that's not what he said at all. Not even close.
People in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
Treated unfairly, sir. I'm sorry, I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly? I just didn't understand what you were saying.
No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit
to stand.
So he explicitly separated the good people he was talking about from white supremacists and neo-Nazis. And he called them bad people. Like, what more do they need? They still ran with, oh my gosh, he said that white nationalists there were some good white nationalists. There were good people on both sides. 100% false. Look, let's continue.
For our democracy to stand for rule of law and to end the chaos and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended.
So she wasn't following the rule of law? Now what? That was wild. Huh. That was interesting. Everything just shut off. See, this is how I know I'm doing the right thing. Wow. All right, 1 second. This is how I know I'm doing the right thing, people. This is the second time that this has happened, and it's only happened on this type of subject. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. This is actually encouraging for me, though. Like I said, this means I'm doing the right thing. Hopefully the exposure's not too whacked out. Hilarious. All right. I think I got it. Can you guys still hear me? To the left knows who I am. All right. Now what? Now the camera won't work either? All right. I think I got this all figured out. Woo, bright. Let me make sure the sound is good. Nope, sound is whacked. All right, here we go. Actually, you guys should be able to hear me, see me. I gotta fix this exposure. That's wow. That's way too bright. All right, here we go. Now, back to her lies. I can't be stopped. All right. Let me go back just a tad.
Foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And
so she was complaining about him not liking the outcome and complaining about it. And here she is complaining about the outcome of the Supreme Court decision.
Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but...
So here he's talking to President Xi of China. This is the bloodbath thing that they keep lying, saying.
You're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected...
Here it comes.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole... That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
So he's clearly talking about China, the automobile industry, and if he gets elected, this is how it's going to go. If he doesn't, it's going to be a bloodbath. He was not talking about the country. She lied again. No fact checks.
Go down to Washington, D.C., and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won.
Listen to the question. You repeatedly falsely claim you won.
Many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
That.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm. Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it.
This is the moderator. He's debating him right now. I didn't detect that. Nobody asked you. Nobody's here to watch you. Nobody wants to hear these opinions that you have. Ask the question. So far, he stated things that he thinks that Trump did were wrong. Then when he asked him, Trump answered and he said, well, I didn't detect any. See, he's responding to Trump's question. They did not do this to her once. Not at all. And when they followed up, I'm going to show it. It was leading her into something. When they asked her any tough questions, they led her into her own answer. What's going on, John Thompson?
And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
no
Republican.
Judge looked at it
and said
they said
no
we didn't have
widespread
standing.
Fraud.
We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden.
So he's still pontificating. He's giving his opinion. He clearly lost, but you hear what he's saying. It's ridiculous because he's lying clearly. He hasn't even asked her question. This is what they do. But remember what this is about. This is about him supposedly being an election denier, right? That's essentially what this is. So I did something.
In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge it at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
That.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm. Lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know
they've been pounding this in since Trump started being an election denier.
No judge looked at it.
They started arresting people. They started showing up at people's homes. They started censoring social media if you were an election denier. You're a threat to democracy, right? This is what we're dealing with right here. Okay.
We didn't have standing. Fraud. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter. Because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself.
Run the best campaign.
There we go.
You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate?
This is a GOP ad that came out in 2020. Actually, it came out this year. This is all Democrats being election deniers.
Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president, or elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do.
The one thing that Trump
is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Our election was hijacked. There is no question. Congress has a duty to hashtag protect our democracy and hashtag follow the facts.
John Lewis is completely right. There is a cloud of illegitimacy around the election of Donald Trump. The Russians interfered with his election. James Comey and the FBI interfered with his election. The fake news industry interfered with his election.
Do they sound like Trump? They went after him, supposedly, for trying to overthrow an election for using this exact same language. It's okay for them. It's them. That man just said fake news caused Trump to win 2016. Trump says fake news caused Biden to win 2020. Arrest him. Lock him up. Election interference, trying to overthrow the government. This was the case that they made. Listen to what these leftists are saying. This is unbelievable.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president who got illegitimate foreign help.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he knows he didn't. He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Stolen emails, stolen drone, stolen election. Welcome to the world of unprecedented Trump.
There was a widespread understanding that this election was not on the level. We still don't know what really happened, Isaac. I mean, there's just a lot that I think will be revealed, history will discover, but you don't win by 3 million votes and have all this other shenanigan stuff going on and not come away with an idea like, whoa, something's not right here.
He knows he's an illegitimate president. So of course he's obsessed with me.
Al Gore got more votes, but not enough to stay out of the Supreme Court, where President Bush was elected 5-4.
Bush versus Gore. A court took away a presidency.
What I observed as a voter, as a citizen of Illinois 4 years ago, were troubling evidence of the fact that not every vote was being counted.
The New Yorker reported that Kerry thought that, quote, proxies for Bush had rigged many of the voting machines.
Therefore, it would be easy to hack into the mother machines that control the electronic voting.
This is all language that Trump has been using for the last 3.5 years, and they're saying he can't accept it. This is unbelievable. He's unhinged, trying to overthrow the government. He went through the courts. They explained that, but somehow he still tried to overthrow the government.
Still legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections.
We won, but I didn't lose. I got the votes, but we won't know exactly how many because of how they cheated.
I did win my election. I just didn't get to have the job.
We
were
robbed of an election.
Using the word rigged, using the word steal, do you think it's dangerous going into 2020?
I don't, because we can actually back it up.
If she'd had a fair election, she already would have won.
This is not a speech of concession.
No.
Because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. And I will not concede because the erosion of our democracy is not right.
I think that Stacey Abrams' election is being stolen from her.
Reminder, she wrote, Brian Kemp stole the gubernatorial election.
That's my favorite one because that's Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary.
From Georgians and Stacey Abrams.
Certainly gave the appearance of unfairness, and I think it was unfairness.
That was the Attorney General of the United States saying the exact same stuff that Trump has been saying. But he's a criminal. He's crazy. He's a threat to democracy for saying it. All of them. And I cut out a lot. I specifically picked all the ones that you would recognize. They all said the same thing. Were they a threat to democracy? What about the peaceful transfer of power that you guys have been hearing about? It's all garbage. It's why I dismiss stuff. And people are, how can you dismiss that? He tried to overthrow the government. With what? With what? So Congress could no longer meet if they... I'm not even going to go down this road. I just wanted to play the hypocrisy so I could ignore the rest of this because it's so absurd.
She ran a great campaign. She probably won.
Candidates, both black and white, lost their races because they have been deprived of the votes they otherwise would have gotten. And the clearest example is from next door in Georgia. Stacey Abrams should be governor, leading that state right now.
I'm not saying it's going to be legit. It's the increase in the prospect of being illegitimate is a direct proportion to us not being able to get these reforms passed.
Right-wing extremists already have a plan to literally steal the next presidential election.
That was 2024, claiming that right-wing conspiracy theorists, these people these MAGA Republicans, are a threat to democracy. They're trying to steal the election.
But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament.
He doesn't have a temperament.
Or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
Without voter suppression,
who's that?
Stacey Abrams would be the governor of Georgia. Andrew Gillum is the governor of Florida.
Viktor Orban.
So she can deny election results on multiple occasions, but if he does it, he's confused and he's not fit to serve. He can't. He can't.
Said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate.
You catch that? So she's going through the problem. The question sounds fine, normal. But then she puts it on Biden. So she is propping her up to allow her to answer the question. She's giving her, she's feeding her.
December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
So Biden can't do it. How would you do it? She's setting her up. She's part of the administration. She's admitted that she's been there several times to help negotiate. And now she's saying Biden can't get it done. What are you going to do? She's acting like she's not in office right now.
Well, let's understand how we got here.
Of course.
On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis.
All right, so I explained this before. She was saying that Trump says he can end this thing. Biden's having trouble doing it. How would you do it? She's not saying how she would end it. She's saying what happened. And when she does that, John Thompson, she's thinking. She doesn't know what to say. I don't know how she doesn't know what to say. She was just given the answer. It's unbelievable. So now she's going to state what's going on there when that's not the question. The question is, how would you stop it? Oh, it's horrible. There's people dying. We have all these soldiers everywhere. There's fire everywhere. They're bombing. It's madness. We need to fix this. Yeah, that's the question. What would you do? Well, I could tell you what we need to do. We need a two-party solution. We need this. We need that. Okay, what would you do to achieve those things? That's the question. She's about to go on and explain the problem. She's not answering the question. She does this every time, and they allowed this to happen. They allowed this to happen. If I send you to the store to get food to make dinner, we're gonna have, I don't know, steak and rice, and I say, okay, are you gonna go get the stuff? She's going to explain everything we need, even though you already described that. You don't need a description. You don't need this. She doesn't need to lay out what happened. Well, what she does is, well, first of all, let's explain how we got here. No, we don't need that. We know. She just laid it out for you.
Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped.
We know.
And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that
before she goes to the store to get the what we need for steak and rice, she's saying, I'm hungry. You're hungry. Walmart is the place that we need to get this stuff from. And then she'll tell you the ingredients, but she's not going to say how she's going to get to the store and get back by 8 so we can eat. She's just explaining that everyone's hungry. We know. Steak is good for you. Rice is a starch. This is what she's doing. She's not answering the question. She's just not.
This war must end. It must end immediately. And the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Okay.
Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution.
She's giving what we all understand. Everyone knows this stuff. She's saying what we must do. She was asked what you're going to do. DJ Memphis, what's going on, sir? She's not answering at all. She's just stating the problem. And then they just move on.
And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and an equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party.
See her little head shake? Did you see the head shake? He's saying she wouldn't even meet with him. She was at a sorority party. USA Today, Kamala Harris speaks at AKA convention in Dallas. July 24th, 2024. Guess when Netanyahu was speaking? So she's shaking her head. I don't know why she's shaking her head.
But this is to let people know, oh, he must be lying again. Look at her.
At the same time, look at the way Netanyahu is being snubbed in Washington in a way.
By who?
Kamala Harris has reportedly declined to preside over the Senate chamber, where Netanyahu addresses a joint meeting of the Congress.
He addressed July 24th, 2024. So she couldn't do it because she was at the AKA convention
On Wednesday afternoon. So that in itself is humiliating for Netanyahu. An Israeli official told The Telegraph that the move to boycott the speech on Wednesday during a difficult war against Iran and its terror proxies, quote unquote, is disappointing. Meanwhile, Netanyahu has requested an in-person meeting with former President Donald Trump while in the U.S. this week. That's what the Politico has reported, citing people familiar with the outrage.
So, the vice president had an AKA event to be at. She couldn't meet with Netanyahu to end a war or to attempt to come up with something. Clearly, the AKA event is more important. Clearly. She had to be there. So Netanyahu's here. They're talking about how can we end this war? And she said, oh, whoa. I got something to do. I can't be there today.
Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself.
Another lie. Fact check.
You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So she said he wants to be a dictator off of that. Clearly joking and clearly saying, no, on that day, we're going to stop this and this by executive order. That's what he's talking about. How many times have you guys heard the left say, he says he wants to be a dictator? On day one, he's going to become a dictator. That's what they're saying. They completely rephrased what he said and made it sound like Trump said he's going to be a dictator. On day one, he's going to be a dictator. So if they say, did he say that? Well, he said that, but that's not. That's it. He said it. So you're okay with Trump being a dictator on day one. This is the games they play.
It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant.
Putin.
So another lie. Another lie. This is what he said about Putin. And when it's really clear sarcasm or jokes, but you don't see that part of it, what ends up happening is it's really easy to take it out of context if you didn't see this part. So nerds like me, we were watching CPAC. So it's like, wait, he didn't say that. He was calling them smart because he's taking advantage of idiots. That's not how they convey these things.
They're saying, oh, they're going to sanction me. They sanctioned me for the last 25 years. You mean I can take over a whole country and they're going to sanction me? You mean they're not going to blow us to pieces, at least psychologically? The problem is not that Putin is smart, which of course he's smart, but the real problem is that our leaders are dumb. Dumb. So dumb. And they so far allowed him to get away with this travesty and assault on humanity. That's what it is. This is an assault on humanity. So sad.
So even when he says this is sad, they're saying, "Oh my God, he's praising Putin. He's praising him." No. So no, Mike Levin. By that logic, Biden's day one executive orders make him dictator. No, they completely left out that it was via executive orders. They just took the part where he said dictator day one, and they ran with it. Term limits would be absolutely amazing, Andre Deb. Absolutely, it would be. Yeah, that would be perfect. But they would have to vote for it. The only person is Matt Gaetz who would even try to do something like that. People who go into government shouldn't really want to do it. They should kind of be forced to do it. Not by physical force, but they should say, you know what? I got to do this. I don't really want to do it. It's kind of like, this is going to sound weird. Adam Carolla made this point, and he said, he said, the people that I want over the boys club, bear with me here. If I say, hey, we need somebody to watch all the boys tomorrow and take them on a trip, the first guy who raises his hand, no, you're not going. Because you're a little too enthusiastic. I wouldn't trust that person either. I would rather they go through all the people there and at the end have the last guy who's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go. That guy I know isn't a creep. He isn't a weirdo. The government should be the same way. The first person who says, oh, I want to run, yeah, you got to go. You're in it for something else. I don't trust you. I want the guy who's hesitant, who says, oh, I have a life. I'm running my business. I got my family. I don't want to do this. But the nation is calling. The nation needs help. Okay, I'm going to do it. That is the man who would not want to stay in office forever. That is the man who wants to get those terms done. You know he's on something. He's on principle. He's not running to run next time. Because they always run, they get in office, and then they immediately start campaigning again. So the government should be people who don't really want to be there. They just have to be there because they understand duty. That's how you'll get term limits. Otherwise, you're not going to get term limits. It's just not going to happen. What are you going to do when trackers say you're playing AI videos? Oh, gosh, yeah. No, that's the good thing is these can all be researched. You may have to go scroll down for them, but they can all be researched.
It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un.
Love letters.
And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors.
When I was an extremist, Islamist, fundamentalist, I would only vote left.
Why is that?
I saw them as very stupid. I would fear the conservatives because they come with principle. That's not someone they can brainwash. But the left, I know they have no values and no principles to begin with. I dare you to find one Islamic extremist that votes for Donald Trump. Never do it.
Never.
They'd give their vote to the leftist who wants to run around in pride parades. And Islamic extremists are against gays and homosexuals and transgenders, but they want the left to go and get busy with that.
And she's the...
So it's exact opposite of what she just said. They take everything out of context, you will. Only if it's on the right. If it's on the left, they say, well, wait a minute. We got to look at the whole context. She said, oh, they're rooting for you. No, they would never vote for him. It makes no sense to vote for him. If you're a terrorist or if you're a psychopath dictator, no matter what, they don't want him in office. They fear him. And he's going to make the point.
One that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me.
She was shaking her head while he was saying that. You notice she was shaking her head when he said Putin.
That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it, because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me.
выбор
Now,
американцев.
I'm going to make this bigger. I wish I can get me off the screen? Oh, yeah, that. So hopefully you guys can read this. I'm going to read it while he's talking. It is a choice by the people of America in the end. They asked him who he would support.
Народа.
I said that our favorite, so to speak,
И, ну, я уже говорил, у нас, значит, фаворитом
was acting President Biden. Why? Of course, he allowed him to invade.
Если можно так сказать, был действующий президент, господин Байден. Вот он.
He's been taken out the race.
Его сняли с гонки, но он рекомендовал.
But he advised all of his supporters.
Всем своим, значит, сторонникам поддержать Харрис. Ну вот и мы тоже так сделаем.
So that's what we'll do.
Будем ее поддерживать. Это, во-первых, во-вторых, она так выразительно.
Secondly, her laugh is so expressive and infectious. We just love us.
Заразительно смеется, что.
That means she's doing well.
Это говорит о том, что у нее все хорошо.
The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective.
Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into.
This is a great question, right? Watch what he does at the end of this question. Just watch what he does at the end of this question. And yes, Toby, he absolutely was right.
Other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that?
That's a great question, right? How exactly would you do that? But watch what he does now.
And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
What kind of question is that? They want to make him take a side while asking him how he would negotiate the end of the war. So he goes through this whole diatribe. It sounds great. How would you end this war? And will you root for Ukraine? Whether you do or not shouldn't matter. He's trying to end it. How are you going to negotiate if on an international debate, because they call it a national debate, but the world is watching. On an international debate, he wants him to say to Putin and all of Russia that he's rooting for Ukraine? Do you want him to win?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done.
This is an answer to the question. He's going to detail why it's not working and how it should go and how he's done it before. And then watch the follow-up question from this psychopath.
Than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out.
Listen to the follow-up. I want you guys to listen to the follow-up. This is so absurd.
Out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's...
He went right back to, so do you want Ukraine to win? He can't answer that question. If he answers that question, how does he have leverage to negotiate with Putin? Putin now knows you're rooting for the other side. I don't believe anything you say. This is incredible. And these are the little things that people don't catch unless you already know in the back what he's trying to do. And you only know what he's trying to do if you know who this isn't CNN, who ABC News is, and who this guy in particular is. So are you rooting for him or not? That's his follow-up. He waited all that time through all that actual thought out answer. Very, very concise. This is what I'm going to do. How you doing, VMAC? I'm going to do this, this, this. It's worked in the past. We're going to make what he's done before. We're going to make the UN and NATO pay because they're paying half of what we're paying, almost half of what we're paying. Why are we paying for it when they're supposedly threatened by him, right? Now, whether they are or not doesn't matter. Why aren't they paying? They're the ones with the interest. This is what he just said. I'm going to make them pay like I did before. Why aren't they? How is it that they don't have more of an interest in ending this war than we do? Unless you want the war.
It's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
As commander-in-chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
You see how much simpler the question was? Why didn't he ask Trump that? But what does he do? He separates her from Biden. You see what he did? How would you be different from Biden? So he's putting all that on Biden and saying, okay, we know he's failing. What are you going to do differently? That's a setup question for a talking point.
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here.
So the reason why I put that up is she's saying Trump would give it up. This is Afghanistan, where people were hanging from the landing gear of planes that were taking off. Those planes right there were taking off right about here on your screen. Those planes were taking off. People were hanging on to the wheels. People were falling from the sky as that plane took off. Several people died hanging on to those airplanes, trying to get out of Afghanistan. These were Afghanistanis. I don't know how you say it. So here she is saying that Trump will just leave. Oh, you mean like you did in Afghanistan?
And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here.
What's going on and how can this directly affect the people of the United States?
This is what happened.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
That's our breakdown of the Ukraine war. So there's this place and there's this other place, and the bigger place went after the small place. And that's where we are today.
And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe.
So, what Trump said is, why isn't the rest of Europe paying more money then? If this was really what they believed, I'm going to make them pay. She's making his case for him. She just does. She's not smart enough to know she's making his case.
Starting with Poland, and why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up
Emotional appeal
for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please.
Quiet.
He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started.
This right here is the most important thing that was said in the entire debate. And I've seen nobody else talk about it. So this is why I do this channel. I'm trying to show people, hey, this is what it is. You don't have to agree with me, but this is what it is. Then you can make the decision. Listen to what happened with this woman.
3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid.
Mistake.
Now, this is what happened 3 days before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. This is exactly what Trump is talking about. But if you don't know what happened, it just sounds like, whatever, I'm waiting for the next topic that I care about. But listen to what she did.
Her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid.
Toby, talk about the Ukraine men that left because they didn't allow them to leave. They were catching them at the border, beating them, throwing them in vans, and taking them back to the military base. They wouldn't even allow people to leave because of there was no draft. You're just expected to fight. So they wouldn't even let people leave. They were grown men, and families were sending their sons out of the country. They didn't want any part of that. They didn't want any part of that. So they threw them in vans. They beat them with sticks, threw them in vans, drug them back to the military bases. So they couldn't even defect.
Mistake in a pledge to defend Ukraine. Listen.
I know.
So I will say what I know we all say, and I will say over and over again. The United States stands firmly with the Ukrainian people in defense of the NATO alliance.
Now note, she said in defense of the NATO alliance. Problem is, Ukraine is not in NATO. So was that a mistake or on purpose? The White House even changing the transcript, which we have here to read, the United States stands firmly with the Ukrainian people and in defense of the NATO alliance. And if you listen to that, and then you look here, as you see we've highlighted, you can see right there, that and got added in.
All right. So to explain why this is a big deal. The biggest problem that Putin has with NATO is that he feels that they're going to attack him. He feels that it is a national security threat to Russia if Ukraine is allowed into NATO. So this woman goes up on stage, international stage, because everyone's watching. A war just started. Actually, no, this is right before the war. This is when he was beefing it all up. So to Trump's point, he was probably trying to negotiate something, but doesn't matter. It happened. This man, no, Toby, I got you. Don't worry about it. I knew what you were talking about. I just still wanted to explain it because it was a point that still needed to be made. I got it. I understood. We're good. We're always good, man. Don't worry about it. So she went up and said essentially that Ukraine's going to be a NATO ally. They are not. That was a direct threat. Now, she's probably too dumb to realize that was a direct threat to Putin, but he thinks, how else can he take it? Oh, so Ukraine is going to be part of NATO. All right, I guess I have to defend my country. That's what he's thinking. 3 days later, war starts. They immediately ramped up onto their border when she said that. Now, I'm not going to say she caused the war, but what I am going to say is she should not have been there because she said something extremely reckless. How do I know? Putin is about to tell you. So, because none of us speak Russian, I don't think any of us speak Russian, I want to make this bigger so you can see it. I have been saying it, but I very much want you to hear me and deliver it to your audience. All of your audience. Print, TV, online, everywhere. Let everyone know.
Это до своих читателей, зрителей и пользователей в интернете. Но вы понимаете.
Do you realize that if Ukraine joins NATO, this is Putin from his own mouth.
Или нет, что если Украина будет в НАТО,
and decides to take Crimea back through military means, the European countries will automatically get drawn into a military conflict with us. He's letting the world know, hey, what this woman just said, she threatened me. They didn't correct it. They threw one extra word in there and they put and. That was Biden's way of correcting what this woman said.
И военным путем будет возвращать себе Крым, европейские страны автоматически будут втянуты в военный конфликт с Россией. Конечно.
Of course, NATO's united potential and that of Russia are incomparable. Now he's saying, hey, we're going to have to do something. We can't fight all of these countries. Not over Ukraine, even though he's kind of having to do it right now, but just watch.
Значит, потенциал объединенной организации НАТО и России несопоставим. Мы понимаем, но мы также понимаем, что Россия.
But we also understand that Russia is one of the world's leading nuclear powers. This man said, if Ukraine enters NATO, we're going nuclear. This is a direct threat. And she went up there and said, hey, Ukraine's part of the NATO alliance. We're defending them.
Одна из ведущих ядерных держав, по некоторым компонентам.
And is superior to many of those countries in terms of the number of modern nuclear force components. We will nuke those countries if Ukraine becomes part of NATO, because that is a direct threat. How does she not know this before she went there? I knew this.
По современности даже многих опережает. Победить.
There will be no winners because we are talking nuclear war. That is the one thing that he said is unacceptable. You can't negotiate that. You can't.
Или не будет. И вы окажетесь втянуты.
You will find yourself drawn into this conflict against your will. He's talking to all the other countries in Europe. You don't want to do this. Do not allow this woman to enter Ukraine into NATO. It will be nuclear. And if you don't have the nukes we do, you're gone.
Втянутыми в этот конфликт помимо своей воли. И вы даже не успеете.
You will be fulfilling Article 5, collective defense of NATO members, in a heartbeat, even before you know it.
Успеете глазом моргнуть, когда будете исполнять пункт 5 Римского договора.
That man made a direct threat to the world based on Kamala Harris saying something stupid. So what Trump said was 100% true. They said something stupid. 3 days later, we have war.
So I will say what I know we all say, and I will say over and over again.
What we all say. So she's representing NATO right now.
The United States stands firmly with the Ukrainian people in defense of the NATO alliance.
They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up.
You see her shaking her head. No, that's not true. That's not true. Yeah, it actually is. I don't even know if she realizes that it's true.
Something you said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin?
That's the question. Have you ever met
Vladimir Putin. Listen to her
You
answer.
clarified tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times.
He didn't ask you about Zelensky. He didn't ask you about Zelensky. The question was about Putin.
Enter in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow.
Okay.
And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times.
Why are you talking about Zelensky?
The reality is it has been about standing as America always should.
What's she talking about?
As a leader, upholding international rules.
She immediately starts appealing to people's emotions, and it works on a lot of people. It does. She literally ignored the question and started with a talking point, an emotional appeal.
Rules and norms. As a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strong men instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility.
He doesn't understand. She understands. This is an emotional appeal. People, please listen to me. This is urgent. This is what she's doing. The man asked her, have you met Vladimir Putin? Instead of saying no, because everyone knows she didn't, and there's no way she could contend with him, because he is really, really smart. He wouldn't be where he is if he wasn't. Evil, maybe, yes. Actually, yes, evil, but way smarter than her. They're not going to put her in a room with him. Are you insane? So instead of saying, I haven't met with Putin, because that would make her look bad, they would want to know, wait a minute. It's been 3.5 years. You still haven't met with Putin? You're the VP. Instead of saying that, she says, I have met with Vladimir Zelensky 5 times. Do you see what happened? No one's talking about this. So and again, I wasn't even going to do this content, people. I was not going to do this content until I saw the response. And I'm like, everybody really thinks she won? And this is not arrogance. I just thought everybody knew how the Ukraine war started. They've been talking about it for two years. We're in for $250 billion, billion with a B. And people still don't know how this war started. It started with her, essentially, unknowingly, I think, making a threat to Russia. Now, he was building his force on the border. To Trump's point, he was starting to try a negotiation for something. I'm assuming it was Nord Stream, but we blew up one. We blew up Nord Stream 1, and we allowed them to build Nord Stream 2. So we blew up a German pipeline so Russia can build a new one, and now they're making money off the oil. This is unbelievable.
In terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you.
So again, what he was saying was, I'm laughing at this comment. I met Kobe Bryant one time, since we're answering questions no one's asking. Yeah, she just went off. She just went off. What he's saying is, I made them pay, and this is what we have to do now. Otherwise, this war is never going to end. And do they really want the world's largest money laundering scheme in history to stop? Every country can now say, we're paying for this, we're paying for that. It's not being checked. There's no auditing process. Zelensky has lost his entire cabinet. His entire cabinet has been replaced due to corruption. They're just taking money.
I said this before. It's like Scrooge McDuck when he used to dive into this gold and swim. He used to swim through the gold. That's what they're doing right now in Ukraine. I'm not saying that there aren't people who need what's happening there. It shouldn't be coming from us. It just shouldn't. Not $1 more should be sent to Ukraine. We're not even monitoring it. The Democrats voted against the auditing process that Republicans wanted to be implemented in where our money is going. What are we paying for? Why would anyone be against that? I don't know.
Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Afghanistan.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did.
No one anticipated. The vast majority, I should say, there may have been individuals and agencies, so I don't want to eliminate that option, but our national security.
So what she's saying is no one knew what was going to happen. Actually, let me change this. I want to see this full screen so you guys can see what's happening here. This is insane. All right, so she's saying no one could have known. So what this says is Taliban seizes cities across Afghanistan as U.S. readies final withdrawal. New York Times, intelligence warned of Afghan military collapse despite Biden's assurances. She said no one, we could have never known. CBS News, Afghan government could still fall to Taliban within 90 days, U.S. official says. So they're saying don't do this, don't do this, don't do this.
Team, and no one in Congress, or I would say most people out in the public, anticipated that the Taliban would be able to take over the country as quickly as they did.
They did it within 1 day. Actually, it was hours. It wasn't even a full day. Taliban had full control.
Or that the Afghan National Security Forces would fold as quickly as they did.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
Not true.
We have taken steps over the past few months to retrograde materials to.
All right. U.S. abandoned $7 billion in, it's actually 75. U.S. abandoned $7 billion in military equipment in Afghanistan ahead of the Taliban takeover. Taliban marks 3 years of power by showing off our military stuff on our base. They're in our tanks. They're showing off our equipment that we left there. First, on CNN, U.S. left behind $7 billion of U.S. or military equipment in Afghanistan after 2021 withdrawal, Pentagon report says.
To bring materials home to make them not available to the Taliban. We have taken those steps from our military.
She said, we took all that stuff. Don't worry, don't worry. They don't have it. We took it all. It's not there.
Says that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
We have taken steps over the past few months to retrograde materials, to bring materials home, to make them not available to the Taliban. We have taken those steps from our military.
For all this talk of chaos, I just didn't see it. Not from my perch.
Because we've got like 10 to 15,000 Americans in the country right now, right? And are you committed to making sure that the troops stay until every American who wants to be out is out?
Yes.
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not.
But the scene just outside the gates remains pure chaos. American troops are doing everything they can to get those who have the correct paperwork through, both Afghans and American citizens. But there's a major question about what to do with the Americans who cannot make it to this airport. Because they are currently stranded, and the Taliban, day in and day out, is threatening those Americans. They are setting up more and more checkpoints, and it is becoming increasingly dangerous to be an American citizen here in Afghanistan. So yeah, there's a lot to be proud of, Peter.
A lot to be proud of. That's what she
just made
said.
a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated.
Do you understand? She's taking credit for it. One of the, probably the dumbest military action of our history, maybe?
One of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, And
more.
the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders.
Can you believe it? This is all emotion. 100% emotional appeal. Get this, get this. He invited them to Camp David. Dun, dun, dun. It's like all this theatrics. This is what she's been practicing. So she said, on one hand, I'm proud of what we did in Afghanistan. On the other hand, it's Donald Trump's fault.
You take a look at that period of time. The Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul.
So he confirmed this story. Listen to what this man is saying, because it's pretty phenomenal. This is the greatest story ever.
Storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders.
If you take a look at that period of time,
It's the greatest story you'll ever hear.
The Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul.
Oliver Green, this is the greatest story you're ever going to hear when it comes to leadership. Trust me.
My favorite President Trump story. This is my #1 favorite of all time. When we were negotiating with the Taliban, while President Trump was still the president, President Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan, but he wanted a conditions-based withdrawal. Meaning that you do what we tell you to do, and then we will start pulling troops back slowly as long as you abide by our rules. It's President Trump and Mike Pompeo, and they are talking to Taliban leadership in the room, and they had one translator in the room. President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to kill you. And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him. Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
If you don't think that is the dopest leadership story for a president of the United States, you are insane. Oliver Green, you are insane. That is the coldest-blooded thing I have ever heard in politics. You will never hear anyone else say anything like that or do anything like that. And then listen to the response. Listen to how he continues the story.
And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him. Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
And for 18 months, we had nobody killed.
For 18 months, over a year, they said, okay, we're not going to touch a hair on any American's head. It worked. It's effective. You don't have to like the tactics. But that is amazing, dude. 18 months, they couldn't touch an American, and they had to tell their people, hey, if you're going to kill anybody, don't make sure there's no Americans there. 18 months, you know, all from Trump handing this man a picture, and he said, I'm going to kill you. And he said it. He confirmed the story. He gave him the picture. Why are you giving the picture of my house? You figure it out. I already told you what I'm going to do. No Americans were hurt for almost 2 years.
We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was We were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
And they missed that part because it wasn't very long after the Afghan pullout that Russia started building up their military forces around Ukraine. Almost immediately. They didn't go in immediately, but that's when it all started. That's when he knew, oh, we can get away with it. It was like the red line in the sand from Obama. Remember that? Don't cross the red line. They crossed the line. Oh, well, now everything started going bad from that point forward. But his threat saved lives. You don't have to like it. It's mean. It's bullying. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. He's supposed to be a president. That's not presidential. I don't care. It saved Americans' lives until Biden got in.
You recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known."
I know you guys were waiting for this one.
As black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black.
Kamala Harris, the Indian-origin Democratic presidential candidate, on Sunday recalled the time spent with her grandparents in India. She shared a heartfelt post on X in honor of National Grandparents' Day, along with a childhood photo with her grandparents. She reminisced about visiting them in India, where her grandfather, a retired civil servant involved in India's freedom movement, would take her on morning walks and discuss the importance of equality in fighting corruption. Harris also spoke about her grandmother, who traveled across India with a loudspeaker, advocating for women's birth control rights. She added that this dedication to public service continues to inspire her today.
Now, listen, I want to make this clear. There's nothing wrong with this. Nothing. She's taking pride in her heritage. Just keep that in mind, though.
She concluded by wishing all grandparents a happy National Grandparents' Day, acknowledging their role in shaping future generations. Harris, who is contesting against former President Donald Trump, wrote this post on Sunday, and it soon went viral.
Yes. You are Indian. Yes. Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like the thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian, but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
There's nothing wrong with anything there if that were it. The problem is there's a lot of pride there. She thanked her grandparents. What's going on 2020? She thanked her grandparents. Again, nothing wrong with that. She showed pride in her heritage on National Grandparents' Day. Not the other side of her family, but she showed pride in her Indian history and the heritage and everything that her Indian side has done. She enthusiastically, when Mandy or Mindy, whatever her name is, said, "You're Indian." Yeah. She never does that on the black side. Ever. Never. And we're going to see the contrast because this is phenomenal.
And then I read that she was black.
But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you
All right,
happened
time
to
to represent.
turn black
Come on, Kamala.
recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, that's weird, but I'm surely in the next clip she's gonna brag on who she is in her heritage, her Jamaican heritage.
To have people question how you really
That's a
feel
great
about that.
question.
Great
It's very
question.
frustrating. That's a great question. Because to your point, exactly to your point, Uncle Luke, it is, I know who I am.
I was raised to have pride. I mean, I could go on and on about who I am, right? But and who I was born as, not just who I became. It wasn't like some process of enlightenment. Like this has not been a process of discovery for me. In fact, I think the frustration is that other people want me to take them through their process of discovery.
Exactly.
Okay, this time I'm sure she's gonna just come out and say, I'm black and I'm proud of it. What's the big deal? Like she did with the Indian side. Surely she's going to say it here. She's going to answer critics who say she's not black enough. Let's see what she says.
So I was born in Oakland.
Yeah.
and raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada. And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years.
Okay, surely here, she's going to finally just say, I'm black, this is silly, I'm proud to be black. Surely here.
Donald Trump spoke at the annual meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists.
All right, we remember that, okay.
And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect.
Disrespectful.
And let me just say, the American people deserve better.
Do you see the difference in the enthusiasm? What is this, 4732? She shows pride in this heritage. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just weird that she doesn't do the same thing on the other side. What's going on, T-Rail? It's very strange to me that she's really proudful. Yes, enthusiastic. She makes posts on social media about her Indian heritage.
No, I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black.
Kamala Harris, the Indian-origin Democratic presidential candidate, on Sunday recalled the time spent with her grandparents in India. She shared a heartfelt post on X in honor of National Grandparents' Day, along with a childhood photo with
so much pride. So much pride.
She reminisced about visiting them in India, where her grandfather, a retired civil servant involved in India's freedom movement, would take her on morning walks and discuss the importance of equality and fighting corruption. Harris also spoke about her grandmother, who traveled across India with a loudspeaker, advocating
all these great memories and pride.
She added that this dedication to public service continues to inspire her today. She concluded by wishing all grandparents a happy National Grandparents' Day, acknowledging their role in shaping future generations.
So inspiring.
Contesting against former President Donald Trump, wrote this post on Sunday, and it soon went viral.
Yes. You are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like our thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes.
You look like the entire one half of my family.
And then I read that she was black.
But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Any same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's a response.
That's it?
Every time.
That's it.
They have people questioning how you really
That's a
feel
great
about that.
question. It's very frustrating. That's a great question. Because to your point, exactly to your point, Uncle Lou, it is, I know who I am. I was raised to have pride. I mean, I could go on and on about who I am, right? But and who I was born as, not just who I became. It wasn't like some process of enlightenment. Like this has not been a process of discovery for me.
She's not gonna answer.
In fact, I think the frustration is that other people want me to take them through their process of discovery.
Exactly.
So I was born in Oakland.
Yeah.
Why is that funny?
And
she's alluding to it, but she never just says it. There's no pride there.
And raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada.
Interesting.
And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years.
Donald Trump spoke at the annual meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists. And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. And let me just say, the American people deserve better.
And that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Now she's going to
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
And remember this.
Never addressed it.
She is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you.
She never touched the black topic. She avoids it every time at all costs. She'll use words to relate to the person who asked the question, but she never answers. But if it's an Indian thing, yes. If she's Indian, it's this. Yes. And takes great pride. You look like half my family. She didn't say that to anybody else. She didn't say that to Luke. She didn't say that to Lesser Charge. The pride is completely different. She made that long social media post and it went viral in India. Why do you think that is? I don't have an answer. I just find that really, really weird.
Time's up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
She has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she has
we do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay,
that's what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond because
Trump-
no, the
President
former
Trump-
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to respond
No,
to.
I'm sorry.
This business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away.
Biden saying there's no constitutional authority to issue that executive order when they say I'm going to eliminate assault weapons, saying you can't do it by executive order any more than Trump can do things.
Even this, look, it's interesting who the moderator was for that debate. It's the same guy who's trying to help her now. But even Joe Biden said, "Yeah, lady, you can't just do that. There's a constitution we have here. The number 2 thing in there is that you can't touch the guns. You shall not, or it says shall not. Your rights shall not be infringed upon. You can't just do it."
When he says he can do it by executive order, does the vice president have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
That's her answer.
Let's be constitutional. We got a
And
constitution.
yes, we can.
Do you believe in the mandatory buyback of quote-unquote assault weapons? And whether or not you do, how does that idea not go against fundamentally the Second Amendment?
Yeah. Great question. I do believe that we need to do buybacks, and I'll tell you why. First of all, let's be clear about what assault weapons are. They have been designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly.
Again, she's asked a question and she starts describing the situation instead of answering the question.
They are weapons of war with no place on the streets of a civil society. I've seen assault weapons kill babies and police officers. So one, I'll tell you, when elected president, if the United States Congress continues to fail to have the courage to do something about this, I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the over 2 million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback program is a good idea. I support buybacks, and I think that, look, we have 5 million assault weapons on the streets of America, and we have 5 million assault weapons on the streets of America. And assault weapons have been designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly.
Oh my God.
They are weapons of war. And there is no place for them on a civil society, on the streets of a civil society. And it's something I'm so passionate about and so looking forward to being president to address.
She's so passionate about it that she can't answer a question on it. Listen.
We've got to deal with this.
How mandatory is your gun buyback program?
It's mandatory.
Mandatory.
Second Amendment?
A Second Amendment, listen, we're going to have to do it the right way. There's no question about that. But we don't have any, we have to get these guns off the street. But
this is how an emotional person sounds when you ask them a question. I don't know. We got to do it. You can't do it. There's a Second Amendment that says you can't do it. You don't have the power to do it. But then they call Trump a dictator. Oh, it's mandatory. We're going to overrule the Constitution. You don't have that right. You don't have that power. She's insane. But it's all emotionally built. These weapons were designed to kill people fastly. We have to do something. All right, what?
Also, I have faith in the American people to know that, that we want to comply with our laws, and that I know that to be true. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Well, because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it between him and his son.
This is 100% factual. Let's put this one up. Again, what he's saying is 100% true. This is the order in which the Biden family business did business. Straight from Chairman Xi of China. And they sent it through different channels, all leading back to Biden family members. This is not a theory. This is a fact. I'm going to prove it after this.
They get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife?
All right. I'm going to show you that he got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. The real question is, why wasn't this talked about? All right, let's make this big. Might as well do this one. All right, so this is from House of Representatives Oversight Committee. Let's go down. You know what? I think it's page 8. Page 8. Yeah, this is it. Rosemont Seneca Thornton account. This was used for only 3 months. So this is what's called a shell company. If you hear somebody say that, it's essentially something that is set up just to launder money. This is why Hunter Biden will be in court later on this month. Yelena Baturina, a Russian oligarch, wired $3.5 million to Rosemont Seneca Thornton on February 14th. Oh, it won't let me highlight it. Dang it. On February 14th, you can see my cursor. The Russian oligarch Yelena Baturina, the wealthiest woman in Russia, and then married to the former mayor of Moscow, this is exactly what Trump said, wired Rosemont Seneca Thornton bank account $3.5 million. Again, Rosemont Seneca Thornton's beneficiary was Rosemont Seneca Partners, of which Hunter Biden was the chairman. Interesting. After reviewing the wire from Baturina, or whatever her name is, Baturina, no other money came across to Rosemont Seneca Thornton account, and only 2 transfers went out. Where'd the money go? This is what they're following here. Rosemont Seneca Thornton subsequently transferred $2.75 million to Seneca Bohai. On March 11, 2014, Rosemont Seneca transferred the $2.7 million to Rosemont Bohai bank account. Also on March 11th, 2014, 715th of the original wire went from her to Devin Archer from Rosemont Seneca Thornton. He is a partner of Hunter Biden. Rosemont Seneca Bohai was an entity used by both Hunter Biden and Devin Archer. In his testimony to the committee, Devin Archer confirmed him and Hunter Biden were 50-50 partners on this. They were literally making millions of dollars. These are the transfers. This information is out there, but a lot of people don't look at this stuff. They're not nerds like I am. They don't really care as much because it's getting into the weeds. I know more about Hunter Biden than Hunter Biden knows about Hunter Biden. I have done
at least a dozen videos on Hunter Biden if you would like to go back and learn about this man and what he's really done and how corrupt he is and why he is the sole purpose for us not stopping Russia from going into Ukraine. We have to defend Ukraine. Sorry, I said that wrong. For not stopping Russia, for not stopping the Ukraine war. Let's just say it that way. I don't know why I was getting tongue-tied there. Hunter Biden is the reason we're still there. Hunter Biden is the reason that Joe Biden has to stay there. That's what it is. If you want to find out how, check my videos. I detail how Hunter Biden is the reason why we cannot get out of Ukraine under Joe Biden leadership. It's not possible. Even if he wanted to get out, he can't get out. We are beholden to Vladimir Zelensky. And again, if you want to know how, go to my videos, look for anyone that says Hunter Biden. But I made one specific, it's called The Roadmap, Hunter Biden and the Roadmap to Ukraine. I think that's what it's called. I explain exactly why we're stuck in this war until Biden is gone.
Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes. She's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Okay. Where are you from? Where are you from?
What do you think?
Where are you going?
Was that the debate you guys really watched? You didn't see it because nobody really pays attention like that.
Wow.
Happy birthday, Just Jay.
Buenas noches.
Happy birthday. Awesome. Very cool.
South Carolina. South Carolina.
So what did you guys think of that? Between my last live and this live, the reason why I said dissect is that I'm not fact checking. I'm going to go through each thing that I see either makes no sense or does make sense, and I wanted to break it all down. I wanted to dissect it. I didn't want to fact check.
Denver.
That's too general. It's too vague.
Pennsylvania. Ecuador.
This is everywhere they're from and where they're going.
A New Jersey. ¿Y tú? A Houston, gracias.
It's all illegals coming into this country.
Houston, Nueva Jersey.
All these people coming
New Jersey.
What do you guys think? That took me 2 hours. Over 2 hours.
Arizona.
Because there was so much said in those debates that either weren't talked about at all or just
New Jersey.
they weren't known about. And I felt a duty to do that. I swear, I have videos that I was going to be releasing, but I didn't want to conflate it with this, so I held on to them. So I have just regular videos that I'm going to post. I was going to go live again on the illegal immigration situation. And look at this. It's still going on. We got about another 5 minutes of human beings coming across our border from all over the world. Wild. Well, it's not just Houston. It's New York. It's everywhere. The entire country. These people are illegally coming in, telling him where they're headed. Jersey. I just turned it down so I can yap. So that was my breakdown, my dissection of a debate that was not close. I don't know what they're talking about. I showed you guys. I think I showed you guys the post-debate map. It was broken down by by election time.
California, where are you from? ¿Dónde vienes? India, where are you going? New York, where are you from?
I'll play the last part of it.
You?
They're still going on.
Thank you.
They're still going.
Where you going? Thank you. You? India. Where you going? Arizona. ¿Dónde vienes? Where you from? Thank you.
They're going everywhere.
Where you going? Where you going? Where you going? Go ahead. ¿Dónde vienes?
It's
India,
pretty
where you going?
outrageous. It's pretty outrageous, all those people coming here.
Okay, you? Where you from? Senegal. Where you going? Senegal. Where you going? America. New York, California, where? Cincinnati. Cincinnati. Thank you. You?
Ohio.
Where you going? Thank you. You? Senegal. Where you going? New York. Thank you. You? Senegal. Where you going? Thank you. You?
Let's turn that back up.
You? Where you
Where
going?
you
Where you going? Where you from?
Senegal.
Where you going?
Senegal.
Thank you. You? Where you? ¿De dónde vienes?
Ecuador.
¿A dónde vas?
Is this crazy? I thought this was insane.
Nueva York.
Gracias. ¿Y usted?
Ecuador.
¿A dónde vas?
Nueva York.
Gracias. ¿Y usted? ¿A dónde va? ¿Y usted? Gracias.
All those people are coming into this country illegally. That video, I think it was 7 or 8 minutes long of illegals coming here illegally. And they're telling you that Kamala Harris won. Here's how you know she didn't win. She immediately wants a rematch. Now, if you're a fighter and you're the champion and you beat somebody, you don't say, I want a rematch. You say, I'm moving on to bigger and better things. I don't need, I just proved myself, right? Immediately, Kamala said, I want a second debate. That's how you know the truth. Trump told us after the debate, we did some polls and it looks like I won, and they laughed at him. He's not the one calling for another debate. She is. The loser calls for the rematch. She thinks she could have done more. They're making you guys think that she won. She didn't. But they're going to push it that way because that's what the media does. That's what they do. So when you see the news and they're saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just killed him. She killed it. She killed it. She killed it. They don't even like her. And I'm going to prove to you that they don't like her, because I'm going to show what they thought of her when she was selected. This is petty, but this is what it is.
Play this clip from Anderson Cooper's show last night where he interviewed former Speaker Pelosi. Take a listen.
Is Vice President Kamala Harris the best running mate for this president?
He thinks so, and that's what matters.
Do you think she is the best running mate, though?
She's the vice president of the United States. So when people say to me, well, why isn't she doing this or that? I said, because she's the vice president. That's the job description. You don't do that much.
Not exactly a ringing endorsement. Do you think Vice President Kamala Harris is the best running mate for President Biden? And what do you make?
Just so you know, this is Jamie Raskin. He's not really high ranking, but he's been around for a while. He's a liberal Democrat. I think he's a senator. Oh, maybe a House representative. He's in Congress.
Speaker Pelosi's answer there.
I mean, there didn't seem to be anything wrong with that answer. Obviously, President Biden, Vice President Harris, Speaker Pelosi, for that matter, all of us have been laboring under just a deluge of propaganda, disinformation, and criticism by the MAGA right.
You are doing what Speaker Pelosi did, which is not answering the question. Do you think Kamala Harris is the best running mate for President Biden?
Is it? Well, obviously, she gave the right answer. That's President Biden's choice.
It's just a simple question. Do you think Kamala Harris is the best running mate for President Biden? You've said she's excellent. That's farther than Speaker Pelosi went. But do you think she's the... I'm not trying to throw anything into turmoil. I actually think it's a pretty simple question.
This is a liberal Democrat begging another Democrat to answer if she's the right person to run with Biden again. This just happened last year. They didn't like her. They don't like her. They really don't. But he can't even answer the question. He even said, hey, listen, this isn't a gotcha. I'm trying to encourage our people here.
Do you think Kamala Harris is the best running mate for President Biden? Yes or no?
I mean, I don't know what else I can say other than she would be an excellent running mate and an excellent vice president. I don't know whether President Biden has named his running mate. We're going to a convention next summer. It's a year away from now, and we're going to go through that process. So.
I mean, you say, I don't know why you can say the answer is you could say yes. You could say yes, I think Kamala Harris is the best vice president and the best running mate for President Biden. That's the answer you could be giving right now. Yes, she is.
So
he didn't even give him the option to say no. He's just trying to help him. He said, listen, dude, people are watching this. Our Democrat people are watching this. You got to say yes. He's telling him to say yes.
I've not seen any public opinion polling. You might be a stronger vice presidential running mate.
The fact is, they did see the polling, and she was the least. She wasn't just the least popular vice president of all time. She was the least popular candidate when she tried to run in 2020. The least popular. She was out first. She got 0 delegates. 0.
That's right. We're going to elect Kamala Harris.
1 year later, this is him. Same guy who wouldn't even say he likes her.
We're going to elect the career prosecutor and inspiring public servant and Coach Walls. And we're going to defeat Donald Trump.
Yay. The same guy. I got one more. Just because. Where is it? Oh crap, I didn't finish it. All right, I'm gonna save Miss AKA for later. Dang it, I thought I had it. Oh well. All right, that's all I got then. That is all I have. I appreciate everyone who came by. A lot of people came by today. That was amazing. Toby, welcome, sir. I know I've seen you a couple times, but welcome back. Just J, Miss Just J, Super Mod, Just J, New Mod, Just J, T Home 2020, Free J. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, he did not lie, and you were not wrong. You were not wrong. He won, but they're not going to say that, and they're going to promote it in a different way. Oliver Green Apartments, VMAC, thank you. T-Rel, thanks for stopping by. Who else was in there? G Will, as always, appreciate you, sir. So Amber C, the sponsor of the stream, thank you, absolutely thank you. Dg.Designs is G Will's business. I'll post the information in my link in a second, or I'll post the links in the chat in 1 second. Bolo 2.0, thank you, sir. Bolo actually did a reaction to my first one. Yeah, so if you want to watch, you can watch it on there, or you can watch mine. Either way, it's all good. I'm not. I support anybody who supports me. That's just what it's gonna be. Andre Dub, always another supporter. Great guy. Who else was in here? Miss Phoenix Rising, my first mod. Thank you. Always. She comes in here. She asks people to hit the like. Amazing. Mike Levin comes in here all the time. Thank you, sir. I think I said Free J already. John Thompson was back. Awesome. Always good to see John. Am I missing anybody? DJ Memphis came in here, and he didn't even troll today. I really appreciate that, DJ Memphis. DJ Memphis is the man. Every time he comes in just to say something slick, and then he jets because he knows I'm not in those other chats anymore. So he gets his little shots in that way. That's a cool dude, real cool dude. Who else was in here? If Mel Dub was in here right now, he would say something slick, and I would time him out for the rest of the live. But he's not in here yet. I'm sure he'll watch later. Cortez came in here. Awesome. Appreciate you, Cortez, for stopping by. Salute to the real, as he always says. Easy Did It came in here. Awesome. Thank you, sir, for stopping by. Taryn the Black. I'll be sharing his link also. Thank him for stopping by. K Soprano always comes in here. Appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. True Pac was in here. Appreciate her. Thank her for stopping by. Uncle L. Vibes in my lane. Man, there was a lot of people in here. Holy crap, I didn't see that. That was really cool. Very cool. Free J, there was a lot of information. If you get time, definitely worth going back because you're going to be like, you got to be kidding me. Miss Genesis 1, as always, was in here as well. Thank you all. I'm going to share all of the people who I follow's links and the people who I frequent. Miss Real Talk Nikki. Everyone in here would enjoy her content. It is very funny. Like I said, she is a super talented editor, and her stuff is funny. It's conservative leaning. So like me, she leans to the right. Mel Dub, most of you know. If you don't know, definitely worth checking him out. Similar, well, no, he's more centrist, but very good guy. Very, very good guy. Biz 101 is another person. Teaches finance. He's a friend of mine. Definitely check him out, please. Kwame Brown. I don't have to explain who that is. Please follow him. Subscribe. Like his videos, watch his content. He teaches a lot. And as you can see, I prefer teaching to what I think people may not know. If you do, I try not to come across as condescending. I just like sharing information. Miss Akimi is another one. Great content creator. Very positive content creator. Even when she's covering negative topics, she still finds a way to make it positive. She's awesome. Damn DPOV is the man, the #1 YouTuber, in my opinion, on this entire app. Miss Selena. We do a monthly all men's panel check-in where she just asks the men questions. That's Miss Selena. Please follow her. Vince the Sniper. Not literally a sniper, but he is, let's see. He is a content creator who is now moving from the beef sector over into college sports. Another person who covers similar content is Taryn the Black. But he actually knows, he's multifaceted. He's into politics, he's into comics, he's into, I think, anime also, and he's into college sports. So I'm sure he'll be moving around in those different content sections as he goes. Jay Powers has not started his channel, but subscribe. So when he does, you're ready, because that dude is the man. He's hilarious. He's crazy. G Will. I got all of G Will's information in here also. So, oh man. Oh, I can get it from here. G Will. Why can't I see it? There we go. So I have his Instagram now. And this is everything that he does. So he's made me some shirts. He's made me some mugs. I'll show you guys those in a second. Copy. Get back here. Oh, what did I just do? There I am. Okay. This is G Will's information. I probably should have separated. But that Instagram, if you hit the Instagram, you can reach out to him. He's made me shirts. He's made me these cool things. These are awesome. These tumblers. He makes coffee mugs. He does shirts. He does embroidery. Yeah, he does all that stuff, and he's excellent at it. And he'll ship it to you, so it doesn't matter where you're at. That's Gw.stgdesigns. And now I think his email is in there also if you wanted to reach him by email. But I think he said that Instagram is the best way to reach him. Oh, cool! I got some hoodies coming. I didn't even know about yet. See, that's what. Now that don't mean he's gonna send them to you. That don't mean he's gonna send them to you, but he will. Still got to pay for it. That's his business. I'm just messing with you. If you would like to bless the channel, I did a lot of work today. I won't be as humble as I normally am. If we would like a fresh wind, if you can, if you would, if you feel it on your heart. This was literally an 8-hour day of doing that. So if you would like to donate, I have zero issues today. Normally I'm like, oh, I feel bad. I don't know why, I just do. Normally I do, but today I would say, hey, I worked on this. I would have zero issues. I have a stream sponsor, that is Amber C. Make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. All right, that is awesome. VMAC, thank you. I think I caught you. My birthday was August 22nd, so I think Miss Just J, I think I'm on the cusp of Leo Virgo. I think I don't know about that stuff. I'm not into all that stuff. If you did not hit like yet, please hit like on your way out. Subscribe to my my Rumble. Over there, if you guys have a channel, I highly encourage you, especially if you go live, to do both. It really doesn't take much to do Rumble and YouTube at the same time. I'm on both right now. But as soon as you post your videos, it's eligible for monetization. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to make money off of it until you start getting views. But I've had a couple views or a couple videos with over 1,000 views that made me money. I'm like, holy crap. Not a lot of money, but the more you do it, if you're doing it here, there's no reason to not do it there. I guess that's my overall point. You should create a Rumble account. You really can do both at the same time. I'm streaming both right now. If you need help, I'll help you. But if you have a channel, definitely is worth doing both Rumble and YouTube. Also, X has a function where you can go live on X. You just have to pay, and I didn't pay. They gave me like a free period. So at one point, I was going live on all three at the same time. And you can do all that from StreamYard. You can follow me on Instagram, but you got to request it because there are weirdos out there, and I don't want just anybody looking at my personal Instagram. And on Twitter, I am active there. I posted that video about Trump and the no tax on overtime. I posted that last night. Today it blew up because he said it during a speech last night. So that is all I have for you guys. You guys are all amazing. I appreciate every single one of you, and I appreciate the time that you guys take, especially when I go long like this. Holy crap, 2.5 hours. I was gonna split it, but I figured, okay, we're almost there. I might as well keep going. Let's see. Sorry to hear what. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, he caught COVID. That sucks. Sorry, man. At least it wasn't triple E. I did a I did a video. What is it called? I did a video. What is it called? On the only way Kamala could beat Trump. Number 1 or number 2? Number 2, I think it is. Let me see. I'm gonna post a link to that one so you guys know what that means. Oh, I also started posting all the little compilations that I make on YouTube too. Where is it? The only way Kamala can beat. Yes, here it is. Share, copy. Check this video out if you want to know the weird, odd reference I just made. It explains it in there. Triple E is the next possible demic spread through mosquitoes. Scary stuff. They started making curfews in Boston over this one. So anyway, that is all I have for you guys. I appreciate you again. The music today going out. Who is it going to be? Oh, cartoons. I love cartoons. If you don't know who cartoons is, look them up. They're awesome. I linked the music that I play every time in the descriptions. If I play music, it's linked in there. I like the music. It's good. Thank you, sir. It's not an assault rifle. Jesus. It's not. It's an AR. You sound like a liberal now. Come on, Toby. That's not an assault rifle. The AR is a regular rifle. Semi-automatic. Anyway, getting technical. No, it's all good, man. I think my humor. I don't know if you could tell when I'm just joking sometimes. Because you did this. This is the third time you're like, oh, my bad. I'm like, no, it's okay, man. I get it. Yeah, I was joking, man. Don't worry about it. Oh, boy. They're talking about vaccines. All right. I definitely got to go. You guys have a good one. Thank you very much for stopping by.